Jackson Podcast.
The future is not something you wait for. It's something you build. It lives in the hands of the doers, the dreamers, the people who refuse to stand still. Resorts World is more than a casino. It's energy. It's opportunity. It's hope for the borough. A second chance for some, a first step for many. It's where community gathers. Not just to win, but to build a future once imagined. This isn't just business. This is legacy. And now it's time. Time to invest in us. Because the future doesn't ask for permission. It moves with purpose. From our chairman to our newest employee, we're committed to Queens. And in Queens, the future is now.
Wow. You know, this is interesting, man. Just days after JayZ was told no to build a casino in Manhattan, Nas was told yes to expand one in Queens. You know, I watch a lot of content on YouTube. I try to support content creators. But a lot of people are putting out a message that's kind of, you know, conflicting. I really be getting confused. So, you know, a lot of folks will try to get the news out first. They'll try to be first and get the views, the likes, and get their numbers up and all of that. And then they don't have accurate information. People was conveying the message like Nas got the casino over JayZ in Manhattan. Or, you know, there was talking like, you know, JayZ ain't get it, but they gave it to Nas. The beef is back ignited. I'm like, man, come on, man. Nas got the casino. He ethered JayZ again twice. This is the second time that he's gotten ethered by Nas. Nas keep defeating him when it's a battle. I don't even think this was a battle, you know. I feel like this was already in play for both of these brothers. And it's two totally different locations. Like Manhattan is, man, it's like probably one of the most expensive places to get a piece of real estate in the world. Queens, this thing was already established what Nas is connected himself to. It's just that they expanding it. And you know, the people who approved it or whatever, it's like they was pushing the beef forward, you know. They was egging on to the conversation to get some sort of like traction going on the internet.
Being said, I'm getting ready to vote, and there's a theme in Queens, and I know Nas is a part of this. Queens get the money. Sorry, JayZ, we win again. I just had to rub that in. You can let the Brooklyn Borough president know that I send my regards to him. With that being said, I vote aye.
Borough president votes in an aye, and some conflict will be brewing.
So that was the Queens Borough president, Donovan Richards. And he was just having fun and making light of it or whatever. And people took that and ran with it to create conversation around it. And to me, when I think about casinos, right, when I think about gambling in general, I've participated in gambling and playing the lottery before and all of that, scratch offs and shooting dice in the neighborhood before. But it's something that as I've aged, I don't participate in because I feel like it can create an addiction, and you'll have an expectation that you need to win to be able to pay bills and stuff. It's just as addictive as crack to me. I seen where they made the sports betting. It's just like heightened now, and it's actually ruining the game to me. That's just to me. Sports ain't the same as it used to be for what I like, the competitiveness, and players are getting caught up, you know, trying to manipulate games, and they losing their whole career when they got a career that they'll never be able to obtain these type of finances ever again in their life. I just don't like gambling. It's a form of an addiction that is not good. Do I think, let's get to it. Do I think that this is going to benefit the people of Queens? Do I think it would have benefited the people of Manhattan? No. The price of living in Manhattan and anywhere in New York is already through the roof. So they're going to create another addiction for people to partake in. Nah, ain't nothing good going to come from this. Then you're going to have crime around the areas that those people are making money at. You're going to have people scamming and trying to find individuals that's making this type of money and following people when they leave the casinos. Nah, I don't think that this is going to be a good thing for nobody in general. That's just how I view it. Now, I got some clips that I want to play. But before I do that, I want to read some of this article from Vanity Fair about JayZ. And it's titled, Inside the War Over JayZ's New York City Casino. The rap legend recruited everyone from Alicia Keys to Al Sharpton to Charlemagne the God to land a $54 billion gambling palace in Times Square. He didn't count on one thing, though: theater kids. See, so what Nas has got himself involved in is an expansion of the one that already exists in Queens. That was $5 billion. This thing that JayZ is trying to build is $54 billion. That is bread. He ain't worth $54 billion. So he's recruiting his celebrities and his famous people to contribute, to vouch for me, to be able to add to this thing in an entertaining way. And before I get into the conversation, I want to play the clip of him and how he sounded when he initially, was talking about this thing, when he was with Desiree Perez and they was in the room, like, speaking for themselves, speaking to the people that was investing in this. How he sound?
As you can tell by Dez's accent, she's from the Bronx. I'm from Brooklyn. This is what New York really looks like. The programs and things that we've done, and not to highlight what we would like to do with the casino, but something we've been doing 21 years with the scholarship, the job fair. We're 6 years into reform. These are things that we do naturally because it's who we are. So the alignment with Caesars and SL Green, it was important for us that these things are included. Obviously I came up through sports and entertainment, sports too. I built my career around entertainment and culture. And again, a homegrown talent from Brooklyn and the Bronx. And, the things that he's built within New York. And then Times Square being the perfect place for us. I think that I'm trying to reserve myself from it's a very good idea. Very good alignment for us to fulfill the promise of Times Square. And it goes beyond gaming for us. If you look at the work that we've done, even with the NFL and how we've presented culture to the NFL, there was never a hip hop artist to headline Super Bowl until we brought that to the forefront. And then I think we brought the NFL their first Emmy in the live sector. And I think we got 5 or 6.
We have 5, and we've just nominated for 4.
And within our stint, and we just beginning there as well. So, and also when we come into a space, particularly like Broadway, we're not coming to compete with Broadway. We're coming to add. We're coming to be additive. Anything that we've done in the past, we've always included the community. We've never excluded the community. So for us, it's important. One of the first calls I made, and it's public now. You already talked.
So that was interesting to me that he was speaking so cautiously. He was doing a lot of stuttering. I'm used to hearing JayZ with a confident tone. When I think about him having to speak for the community and talking about him contributed to the community and not competing with Broadway, it's just interesting in totality because I feel like those people was not inspired by him speaking about his accomplishments. Now, he did an article with City and State, New York, and they asked him this question, and I want to read it to y'all. I just put it up on the screen for y'all also, so y'all can read it with me if you want to. How do you make a project like this beneficial to Black and working class communities that have historically been impacted by gambling and gambling addiction? So he responded, he said, gambling addiction is a serious issue that isn't unique to Black or working class communities. We're committed to providing resources for everyone. Caesar's Palace has one of the most comprehensive responsible gaming programs, and their long-standing record is a major reason why they are our partner. The project brings positive, lasting benefits through meaningful partnerships and investments. From supporting cultural institutions like the Civil Rights Museum to uplifting local theaters such as Town Hall and Sunny Hall, our goal is to create opportunity and ensure this project delivers real value to the communities that need it the most. Now he's talking about, and that sounds like somebody written that in an educational way, or they use Chat GPT, or he had some sort of writer write that for him. But he said, we're going to be supporting cultural institutions like the Civil Rights Museum, local theaters, Town Hall, and Sunny Hall. What about the people that live there? Are y'all going to be assisting the people that live there? Because obviously nothing was mentioned about those individuals. They are going to be the consumers. I feel like gambling is a great investment if you are a capitalist or a venture capitalist, or you know capitalism is the American way. People don't care about the human being experience. All people care about actually is finances. Let's get into this article though. This article is courtesy of Vanity Fair. So they said tens of billions of dollars, thousands of jobs, and quite possibly the fate of New York's most iconic industry and most awful tourist trap were all at stake. But the closing days of a year-long fight over whether to build a casino in Times Square seemed to revolve around one man, JayZ. You could see it over the summer when Al Sharpton headlined a rally just south of Times Square, iconic red steps. Say yes. Yes time in Times Square. JayZ, JayZ, he shouted. You could see it last week at the Broadhurst Theater on 44th Street, the site of a final public hearing on the casino before a do-or-die vote. For the first time, promised Mark Holliday, the CEO of the city's largest commercial real estate firm. Everyone has a seat at the table with JayZ at the head. Boy, look who he had to get involved in that, Al Sharpton. People can be bought, boy. I'm trying to tell you. People can be bought. He probably gave him a couple thousand and said, I need you to promote it. Say yes to Times Square. Say yes to JayZ. You know, this is interesting. Let me keep reading though. Hove, through his entertainment firm Roc Nation, poured hundreds of millions into a stake in the project. According to its CEO, Desiree Perez, then Roc Nation joined Holliday's company SL Green and Caesars Entertainment in spending millions and millions more promoting it to sometimes worry lawmakers, municipal bureaucrats, and the public at large. The goal: secure one of the 3 licenses for casinos in the New York City area. So obviously the people that Nas is with has one. Who has the other 2? Because they're looking to put 3 casinos in New York City. They trying to ruin the city. On Wednesday, everything fell apart before a bid could even be considered by the state's regulators. It had to capture 4 of 6 votes from a community advisory committee, all appointed by local politicians. That vote finally happened after years of buildup, and the committee decisively rejected the bid, 4-2 against JayZ's big play in Times Square. Despite support from the mayor and the governor of New York, the Times Square casino is dead. It's a massive loss for all the partners in Times Square casino project, including the most famous one, whose up from nothing close to the street story was at the center of the closing argument. We from these neighborhoods, JayZ told the advisory committee members as they sat across a conference table over the summer. We hear a lot of talk about community. We are the community. Let me keep reading before I give my perspective. We're not saying give it to us because we happen to be black, Hispanic, and female, Perez tells me right before the big vote. No, that's not what we're saying. Of course not. But we are saying don't ignore who we are, what we stand for, where we come from, where we've been, everything we've accomplished. Please don't ignore that. So let me address something. You know, JayZ said we are the community. You are from the community, big dog. You don't live nowhere near that community no more. I don't know what you're doing for the community, but are you assisting people in that community? I think people of that community would say no. A few might say yes, but some would say no. Desiree Perez, you know, she may be from the Bronx and everything though, and she has a sketchy history of being an informant. And I don't want to, you know, dive too deep into that because that's not what we're talking about though. But the people of the community in New York City, I wonder how y'all feel about this. Was y'all for it or was y'all against it? And if you watching this podcast, man, I would appreciate it if you left me something in the comment section so I could hear about your thoughts of this. Did you want this or did you not want it? Because gambling is a serious situation, man. And you know, people embrace it, but I don't want to create no more addictions in my life. And it's for the forces opposing the casino, the theater types who worry that tourists may gamble away their Broadway money or that a casino might poison Broadway's delicate ecosystem, create traffic Armageddon in Midtown. Well, to borrow a phrase from a different rapper, not like us, JayZ allies argued the opponents were just a bunch of finger-wagging hall monitors standing in the way of thousands of black and brown people getting casino jobs. They were, according to Sharpton, oligarchs. It was an iconic choice of words, given JayZ's billionaire status. Yeah, that's crazy. Sharpton called the people of Broadway oligarchs. And he's representing and vouching for somebody who is an oligarch himself and who is dealing with oligarchs trying to bring this casino to, you know, Broadway's historical place. And I feel like, you know, Broadway is an art. Gambling isn't an art, or you're not doing nothing creative. It's just money. Even though New York is the financial capital of the world, I think a gambling space would ruin New York. It like in Manhattan, that might drive crime up through the ceiling. Let me keep reading this article though. But the opposition had its own case to make, and the case ultimately prevailed. Casinos weren't just dangerous to the theater community, they argued. They rarely bring the revenue they promise. One of the casinos in upstate New York, for instance, is pursuing a deal with the country right now, worth up to $585 million just to stay afloat. So lots of risk with little reward. What's more, casinos tend to bleed money from the sorts of communities JayZ says he represents. Facts. Promises to the contrary were empty and even harmful to the community, kind of like the ones coming from the former casino owner who's now in the White House. Wow. And in New York City, that man is hated more than JayZ is loved. Goodness gracious, they ethering him with this. They ethering him, these people, with this article, because that is how Trump made some of his money, though, but probably not most of it. He did used to have a casino. Or is that still operating? JayZ's interest in a casino goes back more than 15 years. At the time, New York State was looking to build a slot parlor near the decrepit Adequate horse racing track. One of the bidders tapped JayZ for informal marketing and community advice. That bidder eventually won, beating out companies like SL Green. But after that deal collapsed, Resorts World, a subsidiary of Malaysian firm, was given the Adequate contract instead. Today, the depressed slot parlor not far from the JFK airport is the most lucrative gambling hall in America outside of Las Vegas, bringing in nearly $1 billion annually in gaming revenue. And that is the casino that Nas is involved in. What they're mentioning, the one, the SL Green, that's near the JFK airport. And they saying that is lucrative gaming hall, the most lucrative gaming hall in America outside of Los Angeles. That's interesting. JayZ and Roc Nation continued to explore deals. Then in 2022, SL Green chief Mark Holliday was chatting with JayZ courtside at a Brooklyn game. Maybe they discussed they could try together to get into an even higher stakes contest for one of the licenses for a full-blown casino in or around the city. Holliday and Perez were both honorees at a local charity dinner a few days later. They started ironing out the details. Roc Nation announced its involvement in the Times Square casino bid at the end of that year. Not long after, the Broadway League, which represents theaters, owners, and producers, began mobilizing support against it. I'm not going to read this whole article, and I'm going to post the link in the description to this article. I didn't know it was this long, but they mentioned Alicia Keys and Bill Branton and Fat Joe. Let me read this about Fat Joe, though. But there are still plenty of locals in the neighborhood around Times Square. On October 16, 2023, the Times Square Casino team hosted an 8-hour free buffet for locals. The rapper Fat Joe, a Roc Nation client, showed up to lend his support. One prominent local community advocate told reporters that he wasn't that impressed. I think it's really a predatory business. Okay, let me read the Alicia Keys part. That July, Perez announced that the casino would give $22 million over 15 years to Manhattan Plaza and put 0.5% of the casino profits into a trust controlled by the residents. Considering the projected bill to remodel 1515 Broadway into a casino will come out to be $5.4 billion. That stake could prove to be beyond lucrative. Alicia Keys, a Roc Nation client who grew up in Manhattan Plaza, reportedly met residents later that day to talk up the deal. The Tenants Association withdrew from the anti-casino coalition a few days after that. Residents' reactions were mixed. However, more than a few worried that the grant had hidden strings attached. There were disagreements about whether to accept the casino's funds. So the $22.5 million was withdrawn, redirected to a more broad-based community fund. All the while, boldface names continued to join the casino's cause. The Wire's Wendell Pierce signed on after a $10 million pledge to support traditional black theaters. Sharpton, who has long supported casino projects, got on board with the particular one early in the summer. Months later, the casino team made a $15 million pledge to build a civil rights museum. Charlemagne the God popped by a CAC hearing and expressed his support. So did Fat Joe, who introduced himself with his given name and his Bronx zip code, Joseph Cartagena. Other casino bidders have some measure of star power. Nas made up his own trip to Albany on behalf of Resorts World, which is trying to expand its slot parlor into a full-service gambling hall, but nothing like this. This is a long article, you guys. I'm not going to read it in totality. I appreciate y'all tuning in to my show. What's your thoughts about the casino in general? I feel like, personally, it's no benefit in casinos. One thing I want to say, nothing against Nas and Jay-Z for, embracing capitalism. But this isn't beneficial to nobody but yourself. In our reality. Thank y'all for tuning in to my show, man. Peace, love, plenty, abundance. Make sure you go get you some money. And I'm gone. Chill.
The Trevor Jackson Podcast.